Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Jiu-Jitsu Therapy with Chris Mize. I am Coach Chris Mize. I am joined today by Coach Chris Bowen, who runs our board and produces our program for us. So, Coach Chris, thank you for doing what you do. Um,
Thanks for having me on.
it's kind of hard. You run the show, baby. That's what it's all about. Um, Coach Chris and I, we always have little conversations. We say, damn, that would make a good podcast, or at least it's something to talk about that kind of opens the mind up for folks. And we were discussing, technology and how things are advancing. As far as people learning and stuff. A lot of the big guns, I would say the big names in jiu-jitsu have online universities and things like that. And going through the quarantine that we just have, that really comes forward. I mean, like BJJ Fanatics, they've done some things, giving away some stuff and things, and they've got some outstanding instructionals, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, it's a instructional DVD or a stream or something like that. So you're still learning a technique through just observation of it. And maybe, at the better ones, they compare it and say, yeah, it's kind of like this, or you try that way your brain sort of fills in the spot as far as what it feels like. And it's kind of like when you do this or that. So they kind of help you paint a mental picture of when you're doing the technique, but nothing really takes the place of hands-on stuff. Experience, that's where it comes in. And what we call timing. It's kind of hard to, you can't, even if you even look at every other martial art, which usually a lot of predominantly striking based stuff, you can learn techniques, but the timing comes through the practice.
Absolutely.
And, so that's with stand up. But in jiu-jitsu, timing comes through practice. And practice in jiu-jitsu is having another body, a resisting body, to give you movement like a resisting body will do, so that you learn how to move around that body, feel the ebb and flow of energy, that yin yang of it all, and be able to use that, the person that you're rolling with's energy to move around and stuff like that, climb the tree, if you will, or do whatever. So we just wanted to talk today a little bit about, where things are going to go with that, and how things are advancing. So, Coach, you were talking about some interesting, because you were talking about the personal training aspect yesterday.
It's funny when you mentioned that we talk about a lot of stuff, and it turns out that a lot of these shows are basically just things that we all talk about on a daily basis,
right.
and hopefully a lot of people listening talk about on a daily basis. And when it comes to technology, things are derived or invented, or not even invented, but things come about due to necessity, right?
Absolutely.
And martial arts, for example, came out by necessity. No matter what the style is. So with that being said, with the lockdowns and people not being allowed to train, touch each other, whether they're not allowed or they're just scared to, a lot of schools, as everybody knows, has been doing virtual training, doing Zoom classes or whatever, TriCaster or whatever they're into. And, a lot of people have beat up video training, over the years, going, it's not the same, and I agree with that. But what's different now, that next step, is the fact that now you can communicate with the instructor. You're not just watching a DVD, a video, or whatever. Now you can, just like yourself doing things, you can say, does anybody have a question? And it gives the person an opportunity to ask the question. So it's really taking that next step, that next level. And my point to you yesterday, I believe it was that is going to create an opportunity, and I think it just by necessity will create an opportunity for some of your more sought after instructors, whether they're famous or not, just if they're sought after, if they're good, to be able to set up virtual training camps with people and see what they're doing. If you got a little school in a small town and you're under an affiliation, and it's very hard for you to afford, the main person over your system, school or whatever, to come, or you just don't have the funds to go all the time, you can set up a virtual training thing with somebody that you're supposed to be under.
Right.
And they can, you have your partner in there, and if you have a good camera and a decent setup, they can really see what you're doing. You can ask them questions. Is it the same as being with them? No, it's not, but it's another step closer.
Right.
And I think that is going to be huge, not only for people that just want some privates from some well-named people, but I think for some school owners, I think it's going to be a nice tool to get a more of a bonding with the affiliation that they're under.
Well, I think Coach Greg Nelson, he was talking to me about stuff. One thing that this allows, and he's a very personable person anyway. I mean, if you study with Greg, you feel like you've known him for a long time. Even if you don't, of course, you may have known him for a long time, like we have. But this allows people who don't really know him to actually kind of get to just know him better through his stories and just how his interaction is. When you actually ask somebody a question, how they react, the bond between the two of you actually kind of grows. And I think one thing that's kind of happening is, from an instructor level, it makes us better. We have to figure out how to convey the information better. So I think even when we go back to the regular classroom, our ability to talk about things and get a point across is going to be better. Two, we're already thinking ahead of the game when we're showing a technique, what to do, how to explain stuff better to begin with.
Showing the right angle to the class.
Right, and we'll move around. It does make it, but like when we do class and we'll say, everybody move over here. Not everybody moves, I mean, to the angle. But what we do now, we've been doing on our Zoom, we'll be like, we'll do something here, and I don't know. You guys will have to give me feedback, guys who've watched my Zoom. But we'll just move and adjust so that you can see the exact, and move in on the camera and stuff so that you can kind of see things. One thing that we've been doing, too, is we'll shoot a video, and we just started doing this. And Rylan Lazaris from Hawaii, Max Holloway's coach, actually gave me this idea because I was talking to him a couple of weeks ago. And he does an instructional video, like just pure instruction, 5-minute video on the techniques that they're going to do that week.
Oh, I see where you're going.
And then he puts it out, and he says, okay, we're going to do this tomorrow night. And then he comes in, and everybody's prepped, and they know what we're going to do. And so that's what we started doing yesterday.
And that cuts down on your own. It's sort of like show prep. Everybody gets a chance to already be formulating a question, versus, I didn't get my question in because this person was too quick or whatever. But now you get some time. It cuts back because they've already seen the instruction.
Right.
And you can start out going, okay, you've watched the video. We're going to go over it one more time, and then we'll field questions. And
for us, though, since we're teaching to people who are at home and on carpet or whatever else. Not everybody has mats. Some people have mats. Some people have invested in mats because of this. And people's home gyms are going to be a lot better,
I won't say the person's name, but they were already building a gym right down the road, and another guy was helping them put it together, and that was one of the nicest damn home gyms, or nicest gyms, is in his basement. And I'm talking about this thing is 5-star.
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah,
I was like, what the?
But everything he does is first rate. But I mean,
but I think a lot of people will be more interested in buying mats and doing stuff.
Well, too, and this is one thing I told one of my friends who does privates with me. Now, and it's always interesting, you start out doing privates with people, and then they become your friends, and you develop these long-lasting relationships.
Yeah, you can't help it.
No, you can't. And but we were talking about his wife, and him and his sons train, and they do regular class and they do private stuff. But his wife, who does yoga, by the way, you can always make that argument. Hey, honey, you'll have a nice place where you can do yoga at home.
That's right.
That's right. Hey, it's a win-win, man.
That's right.
It's a win-win.
Absolutely.
But when you start looking at how things are advancing and things like that, and the way that we teach and how we can convey that information, I was trying to do a little bit of prep work on giving us some good things to think about, just to open everybody's mind up about the direction. Now, we don't know where we're going, and we don't know, like I said, nobody's going to come up with a affordable lifelike grappling dummy that's going to simulate a human being. That's
Right.
not going to happen.
And I've got a pretty decent one, but, and I'm glad you mentioned that. When you talk about getting that live feel, there's certain things that you can do in a technique that will force a person to want to move a certain way.
Right.
It's kind of hard to force that dummy to want to move a certain.
Right. I mean, it's weight, but that's it. But when you start looking at that, but anyway, I was listening to, there's a guy, Mark Randolph. He's one of the guys who started Netflix.
Oh wow!
And so what they did was they were coming up with some ideas, and the original idea they had was, and again, just to give you an idea of when the origin of this started was, they were going to start trying to send VHS tapes to people's homes instead of having to go to Blockbuster.
Sure.
When Blockbuster was a thing. Well, it was just too difficult, and the VHS tapes were too fragile, for one. Well, then DVDs came out.
And they were on.
And then it was on because you could mail them out like you would a stamp to everybody. So the evolution in itself of that changed, just because technology kind of changed. I don't know how you'll ever have a something that'll simulate real jiu-jitsu with if you don't have a real partner. But I think just being able to convey information, and I think even the Gracies, Horian and Hoist back, and you'll remember back in the old Black Belt magazines, the Gracie 3D CD-ROM, where it had like a 360 degree view of a technique.
Yeah.
That was something even back then. That was a thing.
But with technology, man, it's
you can do that shit now.
Yeah, you can do that shit now. I mean,
Right.
You can put a damn camera on a boom arm and swing it around if you got a good operator that'll make it look fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the options are there. I mean, the ability to get the information to people is there. A lot better, but again, it's a little bit easier just delving into the thought about who gets the most benefit from let's say a video type instruction.
Right.
People who have a little bit of experience.
Sure.
A little bit of experience goes a long way. If you know what the feel is, it's just like as a brown belt and a black belt, as black belts, we look at stuff, and because of our experience, we draw on that. And we can learn stuff a lot faster, and we can figure stuff out when we see it.
Well, I was talking to Robbie yesterday when allegedly a couple of guys were training, and and I made that comment to him. I said, at the level that these two alleged guys that are training are at, you can look at old information that wouldn't have made sense to you at a blue belt level or whatever, or you might have thought it made sense, but you more fooling yourself than anything. But now at the higher levels, you can take some of that old information without an even higher instructor and start dissecting what it is, because you know what the feel is. Okay, well, yeah, that feels strong, or I don't feel like that's going to do anything. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's a lock or a sweep or a whatever, and it's based off time on the mat. But back to the technology part of it is, I think that this is going to allow people, again, to this situation, this pandemic is really out of necessity. Even if we go back to quasi-normal or whatever, I think that it's going to spark a lot of interest and thoughts of the way people do business, in the martial arts community. Says, okay, well, we're back to normal, if you will. We're back to training classes and stuff like that. But now, what's another way on a business sense? What can I offer? What can I offer my affiliates? What can I offer, whomever? What can I offer on a private level? Like you see these cameos and stuff where people, pay a celebrity to give them a shout out or whatever. Well, now if even if whether they back check you or not, I mean, it's not for rank, but if there's a male or a female high level black belt that says, well, I will do a virtual private for you for $300 where it normally costs you five.
Right, or more.
Or more for an hour. Plus, you're not paying airfare or whatever.
Right. And there's no wear and tear on that guy either.
Yeah, there's no wear and tear because he knows you're not going to fuck him up,
Right.
And so basically he can sit there and virtually coach you.
Right.
If you got a good camera set up, we'll use you and I for an example. Insert legendary jiu-jitsu guy name here, and we say, okay, it's $500 or $300. Hey man, I'll split 150 with you if you want to do this.
Right.
We'll set up a really nice camera and say, hey, and again, the prep part, like you were saying, if you have communication with that person
beforehand, you send them a list of, hey, we want to do this.
This is something I feel like we like what you do, and we want to understand it better on this, whether it's mount, back takes, back escapes, whatever. Then they say, okay, well now I know, and then now that hour is even more valuable to you because it's streamlined. He knows, he's prepped. He goes, okay, he's not going to go down the rabbit hole on well, what do you want, guys? And then you burn 15 minutes of fanboy in conversation. You can go in there and says, yes sir, yes ma'am, whatever, and bam.
Well, I think one thing too, what we used to consider the ancient ancient Chinese secret of whatever insert art here. The chi, the whatever, I mean, people can say what they want to. There's things that make you feel heavier. There's things that structurally, through alignment and framing, make you seem a lot stronger than you are normally. There's things that you can do. A really good instructor can tell you how to do that. It's not about like, well, I can't tell you, but let me just let you feel it. There's something to be said for it. Let me let you feel this.
Sure.
And then let's work through it. But really good people have done it enough and have tried to explain it enough to where they can say, okay, you need to drop your hip more. You need to get your butt up off the mat. You need to get on the edges of your feet. There's things you need to do.
Because that's what they're armchair quarterback anyway during a private. If you've if they've got an assistant, they're walking around looking at you, and they may jump in there, but there's that wear and tear, and they're also not worried about getting no funk off of you. They don't know you, and everybody's going to be worried about funk nowadays.
Well, yeah.
So them privates are going to be really expensive.
Well, you always have to make sure too when you're, like Master Sauer says, when you're training with somebody, training and rolling, the same thing. When you're training with somebody, you never give your body up to them fully. It's like when you're working with them, and how you graduate your rolling when you're rolling with lower belts and stuff, but you never completely give your total trust to another human being.
Sure.
Because they might booger up and hurt you.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. But I think it's definitely something to think about, and like your Rafael Lovato Juniors, and your
Hicks and Gracies,
even your Henzos, everybody, the big names and the guys, Marcella. We were talking about this yesterday, and I don't know if everybody's privy to it. It's just FYI knowledge. But there's a guy named Josh Watznick. He was a world chess champion guy. He's the one that set Marcelo Garcia's online university up, and he did it in a way, especially to be very scientific of how he did it, how you could learn jiu-jitsu. I've piddled with some of it and all that. I don't know necessarily if that's true. This guy got his black belt like really quick, but he's a freaking genius. I mean, as far as whatever, and he did like Chinese push hands and stuff. He had some combative experience,
sure.
But he also got really good at jiu-jitsu really quick, and so he tried to apply that when he did. So there's ways, guys, that things are going to change and we're going to be able to get better. I'm very intrigued about it because I still want to get better myself.
Right.
Right.
Well, and I think the technology is going to open up. I think, you go back to, and this sounds silly, but I think it's relatable. 1980. Mm-hmm. How hard was it to get in touch with somebody in 1980?
Pretty damn hard.
You had to call them.
Right.
You hope they had an answering machine or somebody that would answer the phone. Prime example. How tough do you think it would have been to get in touch with Judo Gene LaBelle in 1980 something? Been pretty tough. You had to go through a couple people. Hope he called you back.
Right.
And then if he called you back, you hope you were home.
Right.
Well, now you can send somebody an email, a text, a message on social
Coordinate
media.
a time that you're going to talk.
Yeah, and then they can send it back and boom, boom. It's just the next level.
Right.
It's the next level now. It's like you schedule your virtual classes. You just schedule a virtual class, and hell, you may not have any communication with that guy until it's time of the class. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
always nerve-wracking, but yes, you're right.
Yeah, I mean,
is he going to really show?
Well, I mean, he may have
my card.
Well, you look, yeah. Well, you look at Professor Sauer. We use him since we're under his affiliation.
Right.
He's got Mike and all those guys that handle his day to day and make sure that he's where he needs to be when he needs to be there and stuff like that.
Right.
And these other guys, if they're worth their salt, girls too, whatever, worth their salt, they may have an assistant that lines it up and think about it.
You got to.
Think about it. You're going to go in today. Okay. It's like you got 5 people that want Coach Chris Mize's attention on Tuesday. It's going to be an all dayer, whatever, but you got your script, at 9 o'clock from 9 to 9:55, you have Chris from Birmingham. From 10 to 10:55, you got Jonathan from Kentucky. You know what I'm saying? And you have the list of what they want. You've already boom, boom, boom. But think about that as a business sense. This will get the business guys, that own schools and stuff. If you charge $200 an hour,
right,
and you just did 8 hours, that's a good day.
Oh yeah,
that's a good day.
Yeah, you don't have to do it every day of the week.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, you can pick and choose.
Right.
Obviously, do you need to provide something that they think is monetarily valuable? Absolutely.
Well, I think this is a time to throw this out there from somebody who does privates, and I know you do some private work too. Guys, if you've never done a private with anybody, and again, you're never really committed to anything but the one that you're going to do, whether you do a 30-minute or you do an hour. It can make a big difference in your game, because when you go in there and you're working specifically on what you need to do, you may be trying to fix one thing. What you're doing is you're drawing on all the experience that person that you're working with is going to fix your problem or help you with one thing that may shave, if you had to figure that stuff out on your own, a year off your jiu-jitsu. Yeah. We both had it happen.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, oh my God, I wish I'd have known that. And I mean, we'll throw those pearls out in class sometimes, and of course everybody's like, they may not get it all, and we'll try to stress it sometimes. Hey guys, pay attention to this because this made a difference for me.
It's tough doing a bigger class because you're broad stroking, to whereas obviously if you and the other person had specific time, and you took one person, if you old school, the student goes to the master, whatever,
right.
You were able to take one guy or girl, and you said, okay, you are my uchideshi, whatever the word is, you're my student, okay, and I'm gonna mold you for 6 months, me and you, every day. 6 months. That kid would person would know a large chunk of what you know in 6 months, and would be damn good at it. Would they be perfect? No, because none of us are perfect. But it's when you do groups, it's like herding cats sometimes. And that's why I think with this technology and this changing of what it is, I personally think virtual privates, I feel like they're coming. I think it's something that's going to be a tool.
I think there's going to be a lot of things that we're looking at. You've heard me talk about some of the things that we're looking at. It's going to be our day to day from now on. Now we're not going to be doing regular Zoom classes during the week. That's not the plan now anyway. When we get back, and we're planning on being back soon, but we are taking into effect some things that we're going to do on a regular basis with our regular classes to make it accessible to people online so they can watch classes more readily and stuff like that. We're definitely doing that. I mean, I've already got everything kind of in place to do it. So,
That's awesome.
I mean, so we're going to do that. So we'll have several classes during the week that are just going to be online, and they'll be whittled down. It won't be you have to sit there for an hour
Sure.
and watch it'll be like, the whole content will probably be less than 17 minutes,
Sure.
the whole thing, all the technical parts of it. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
things-
because you don't have to sit there and watch a bunch of guys roll for 10 minutes.
No, and it's like this, and Professor Alan Hopkins said, he was talking about something, he said, just show the damn move. That's what he said. He said, stop all that damn talking and just show the damn move.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, and why do I need to, unless you're showing a different aspect of a technique, why do I have to show the same exact thing over and over again? Now, there are different perspectives. Every time I show it, I may throw in a little, because it hits me, and I'm like, okay, now make sure, and this or that. As long as you're adding, that's one thing. But if you're just showing a move and then you're just showing it again, and you're not giving any fluff, or not even fluff, if you're not giving any polish or content or tweak on it, just let them rewind it. I mean, that's the thing about video. You don't have to show the same thing over and over and over again if you're not bringing something out.
Right.
But anyway,
that's awesome. Yeah.
Well, I think it's gonna be. You're on it, man. You're on it. Maybe like I said, people should be definitely thinking about. Everybody's thinking about regular class stuff, but things are going to evolve and things are going to change, and we've got to be able to do that. Even though we're talking about an old art that's always evolving, we've got to evolve with it. I mean, we've got to evolve with the time. And everybody was always worried about how rank and time to a black belt would change. Things we're going to become more like the Taekwondo model or whatever. No, we've just got to worry about just adapting to the changing ways that we need to teach the information and just get better at it. And as we have better athletes in the art and the sport of it, things change anyway.
Absolutely.
But our goal is to take the lowest common denominator and be able to bring that up. It's not just take that NFL quarterback style athlete and make him a good jiu-jitsu guy. That's pretty damn easy.
Right.
I mean, but take somebody that's an average person and make them good at jiu-jitsu. That's the goal, But anyway, well, that was kind of our technology talk today. I hope you guys got something out of it. Definitely, it was a thought provoker, I think. And hey, if you got any good ideas, let us know. Not that so we can steal them, but just so,
well, we're a team. We have to build upon each other.
Right. And I mean, you do. And, one thing, it's like being in relationships.
Well, any suggestion,
honesty is the
any
whole deal.
suggestion that somebody may have that would make life easier for them is smart for you to do. And when it just basically comes down to the whole point of what you're trying to do with this technology is making it more accessible and fluid for your students and potential students, and so any suggestion that somebody may have is viable.
Yeah, and I mean that might be a part that makes you just different. I mean, and makes your contribution to jiu-jitsu something that you just had a great idea. You may be from a different industry altogether and just throw something out there and it's like, well, damn, I don't know why we didn't think of that. That stuff still happens, and so always try to be around people that you can communicate with and kind of grow your perspective. I will say this in closing. I was listening to the interview with the Mark Randolph guy, one of the guys that started the Netflix thing, and he was talking about some of the ideas he had before Netflix, and one of them was like a custom shampoo. People would send in a lock of their hair and they would have somebody analyze it and then it would make a shampoo just for that person. That was one thing. They scratched that. And then a custom dog food was another one.
Oh, wow.
You take your dog, you might be an 8-year-old, a German Shepherd female, and they would make that's kind of active or something. And so they would do a custom. So those are all ideas this guy had.
Yeah.
Every idea you have is not a keeper.
Yeah. But you never know.
You got to go through the process because there may be components of your idea that may lead you in a direction to where it's going to bring greatness to some concept of what you need to do and grow yourself. But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope everybody's doing well, and be sure and recommend us to a friend. Like us on YouTube, subscribe to us on YouTube. Again, Coach Chris is working on trying to get some stuff out there, get some other platforms, but recommend us to a friend, and Give us ideas if you want us to talk about anything in particular. We just love to talk. So, Coach, thank you for doing this today. And guys,
Enjoyed it.
we will talk to you next time on Jiu Jitsu Therapy.